If you want to understand how bad things are in this country right now, let me show you this story from The Hill. Why contraband eggs are piling up at the U.S.-Mexico border. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's so bad that people are trying to smuggle chicken eggs in from Mexico. And before y'all go and say, Tim, the reason there's an egg shortage is because of the avian flu. Let me just remind you that the avian flu doesn't know what a border is. It's not like at the southern border there's a bunch of chickens dying, and then right on the other side is a bunch of chickens living. There are chickens in Mexico right on the other side of the border laying eggs. But for some reason, people have to smuggle them in to the country because we don't have chickens laying eggs 10 miles away? No, it's because inflation and policies implemented by Biden and Democrats have been bad. Now, don't get me wrong, the avian flu has been devastating. It's resulted in shortages. It's a contributing factor. But people would not be smuggling eggs into the country if it were not for other issues. So what do you think I'll say it again because I said it in the beginning of the show, but for those that are just watching this segment, if you went back to 2020, right before the election, and warned your family members, if you vote for Joe Biden, I swear in 2 years, people will be smuggling eggs into this country from Mexico in desperation. What do you think they'd have said to you?
You're crazy.
Simply put.
Yeah, that's a little far-fetched. But then what I'm thinking about is, I think that what is happening is they can sell these eggs in Mexico for 19 cents, but if they take them across the border, they're probably getting like $1.50 per egg.
Why?
So it's like a smuggling tactic, like
right. You are correct.
Oh, inflation and subsidy, government subsidy, inflation, corporate collusion, like their price setting. Probably they're not supposed to be, but I have a feeling that they are. That they're like, we're not going to go any lower. Egg USDA or whoever is in charge of the egg sales. We're setting the price at $6.99, and we'll track it with inflation or something like that.
Do you remember those videos from the pandemic of dairy farmers pouring out gallons and gallons of milk because they had the product, but the supply chain was so destroyed that they couldn't get it to the store? But then that meant that we were creating more chaos because then they didn't have milk. That's sort of what the egg issue reminds me of. Like, these are the results of the administration we are currently under. And
well, the milk pouring stuff happened under Trump, but these were Democrat governors that were going crazy on shutting down their states. Ron DeSantis, of course, I think he shut down early on and then reopened much earlier than anybody else. South Dakota, I think, never shut down. So it was certainly under the Trump administration we were seeing all of this stuff. And Trump was the one who proposed shutting down for a couple of weeks. But then when it became apparent they were never going to allow it to reopen, and Trump was like, look, I can't do anything. It's a state level issue. I guess the challenge is...
That means that Biden came into this aware of this issue and has not been able to fix it. I mean, we're 3 years out from the onset of the pandemic, right?
Yep.
And nothing has gotten better.
It's gotten worse.
That should be alarming to all of my family members that voted for Biden, but I feel like they'll buy the avian flu thing. They'll say, we have to we've got to keep flocks separate or something.
The lockdown was bad for a lot of reasons, like people weren't working. But in terms of the raw economic numbers, it's actually worse. Like, the aftermath of those policies has made things tremendously worse. And the Biden administration over the past, it's been 2 years, has not fixed this. When you look at the economic numbers, there's graphs on inflation, wages. You can see Biden get elected, executive orders hit, and then all of a sudden wages drop. All of a sudden inflation skyrockets. That is not an issue of, I should say, that is specifically an issue of Biden administration policy. They want to argue that, no, it was Trump that did that because what happens with the Trump campaign, they enact policies, and then it takes a year to come in, and Biden says, I came in and it was like this. Not true, because you can actually see the inversion happen overnight when he enacts these executive orders. So this is what you get with a Joe Biden. You get war. I mean, think about this. Under Donald Trump, we had the Abraham Accords. We had ISIS getting crushed. He was negotiating peace with North Korea, setting a timeline for getting out of Afghanistan, trying to get our troops out of Syria. And under Joe Biden, we're on the brink of World War III. Inflation is at record highs, going back to World War II. We've got people desperately trying to smuggle eggs from Mexico. I am not... Look, I'll give Joe Biden credit if he deserves credit. I try to. And Donald Trump deserves criticism when he deserves it. And I will make sure, we've talked about the things that he did that were not good, ramping up drone strikes. We can argue that all day and night. Luke obviously would come and do it. But it is, I don't see how an objective human being who reads the news sits here and says Trump was worse. And Trump was 100-fold better than where we're at right now. I'm not going to blame Biden or Trump for the pandemic. But certainly after 2 years of the pandemic being over, or I should say him coming in when we're on the back end of it, things should have dramatically improved. But you know what the problem is? Joe Biden comes in, he shuts down Keystone Pipeline, he shuts down oil and gas leases on federal lands, and then some. Then you've got other Democrat politicians and governors. They want to ban gas cars. They are making policy for ideological reasons that make it worse for everybody else. Donald Trump was enacting economic populist policy that was making things better for the American people. That's the difference.
I guess the challenge in comparing Joe Biden's administration and Trump's is that there's no control. Like, they were different time periods of history. So the Federal Reserve inflation were what? I think it was like 26 trillion maybe when Trump came in or something like that. Now it's at 33 trillion or 20, some numbers like that. But they basically knocked the value of the dollar down from $1 to 89 cents or some stupid thing like that. So that's a natural thing that is irrelevant to the president's, although you could argue that this president encouraged the printing. It was Congress that did it, and Congress passed the bill. I think that if neither of them shattered the Federal Reserve and created a new monetary system, so I blame them both. Personally, I think both those guys just are kicking the can down the road.
Let's do this. Okay, I mean, Trump and DeSantis are going at it, but who else do we have? Are there any other Republican? I mean, Nikki Haley, she's going to run.
Kanye West.
She's going to announce.
Don't forget John
serious?
Bolton.
Kanye said he's running.
John Bolton, yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he said he's running. Well, this is what they said. He told me last I've seen him. Or last we talked, everybody said, yeah.
He told you?
Shane, I asked Shane again. Well, we did. I think we talked about it on the show, or he talked about it on the show. Then I asked Shane, he was like, yeah, he's definitely running. So if he's definitely running, Kanye West all the way. I mean, what the heck?
As a Republican?
I don't know. It's like so ridiculous to put a famous musician in as president, but like
Ronald Reagan.
Donald Trump was just an actor. I mean, he was like a famous actor.
Ronald Reagan
was a famous actor.
What was the joke from Back to the Future? They say like Ronald Reagan's president, like the actor? Like, get out of here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Asa Hutchins from Arkansas is potentially exploring. Larry Hogan, the former Republican governor of Maryland, says that he is considering it. You hear all these names, but I don't know who actually wants to go against Trump. And we've talked about this. Trump endorsed so many people, and from what I remember, had a decent success rate with the people he endorsed. So if you decide now, I'm going to go against Trump, what does that look like if he wins for the next 2, 4, 6 years for you? I mean, you might isolate the people who elected you into office. So it's a really tricky game. I just don't think the Republican Party is sure how to navigate this. And if we had more fire behind the Trump campaign, it might become more clear, right? There might be people who are considering running who would know, no, I just can't handle this.
I think you got to be crazy to want to be involved in political office at all.
Yeah.
Or I got to be honest, public life, any of that stuff has varying degrees of insanity that you need to be in order to want to be involved in any of this. I don't even know why you guys are on this show. You guys are insane.
You got to spread the message, man. Got to proliferate God's energy. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's a sacrifice you have to make being famous to get this word out, I think. I would go to Congress and talk to the people and give them ideas and listen to everyone. I get to know every one of them. There's like 400 of them. And that's another problem
tomorrow.
It's another problem with Congress is it's too big, and I don't think they don't know each other. So they're sitting in a big room with people they don't even know. Like, you got to know that guy if you want to congress with him. I mean, it's a verb, means to move together.
Should I not have said that? I mean,
I think you already did.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be at the Capitol tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be interviewing. Thank God we have that opportunity.
You say what you want.
But I agree with you in that I don't want the title. I'm not seeking the power of the title. Like, look at my badge, everyone. Now, like, if I'm doing it right, then my actions will speak for themselves. And I don't think, like Ben Franklin, he didn't need office. He didn't need a role of office. He was there to help all the other ones. Like, I kind of go that route. But I will also take the presidency if it's up for grabs. And no one's going to do it right.
I think it's got to be.
Would you manage Ian's campaign?
Whose campaign?
Would you manage Ian's campaign?
Yes, for sure. I would manage your campaign.
Rock and roll.
Let's do it.
Right.
Maybe VP Trump Crossland 2024.
I'm open. Or Kanye Crossland. I've been trying to get a hold of Kanye. I messaged Milo, but I think Milo's just like, haha, you fool. But like,
no, didn't Milo disavow them? Or
yeah,
something?
Milo. Yeah. I don't know if Milo and Ye are working together
Sent them
still.
A big bill, I think, too. Also, too, when you look at the other side, I think that's going to be crazy, right? Because these guys, like, the Dems don't want Biden again. His record's been abysmal.
Biden wants Biden again,
right?
Though.
Of course. But I mean, who is it going to be on that side? I think it's interesting too. I think definitely Gavin Newsom is going to be a strong contender. But yeah, going back to just how awful Biden's record's been. I mean, we've had 5.5 million people cross the border since his inauguration. And in 2022, he sent $50 billion to Ukraine. So the state of the union is that it sucks.
Yeah.
And people don't want another Biden presidency.
Oh, I remember last
Yeah,
year's State of the
that
Union
sucks.
was actually just a campaign speech. He called it the State of the Union in quote, but it was just talking
They
about what
all
he's going
are.
to do. So
That's what it's
let's-
gonna be. It's gonna
same
be
as that, you think?
Was it Jimmy Carter who's the only one who came up there and was like, the State of the Union is not good? I can't remember which president, but there's one who was like, he came right out of the gate and was like, look, I'm unhappy. I don't like it. But I just don't think there's anything Biden could say tonight that would win over people who feel like they are struggling because of him. And I think that there are enough left, like centrist and left-leaning people in the U.S. who feel like perhaps they were sold a bad bill of goods here, and he is not coming to save them. Why would they put him in office again?
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.